this week on Dine Drink CLE, the podcast.
But they've got a lot of amazingly creative dishes. The heater, pulled pork on Kaiser with Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Sounds like a Josh sandwich.
Yep.
With you like hot and spicy food, that's right.
Yes.
And it also has jalapenos to just kick it up another couple of notches.
And then the Cheetos just to
There
top
you
it
go.
off.
Right.
Yes, that is there. I didn't see like what they were going to be using that for specifically, but I just in my mind I know this is going to be a place for them to host themed events. Maybe there's a Star Wars opening, a new movie, a new trilogy coming out, right?
That's a great point.
Yeah, they're going to have themed anything Star Wars movie related.
Or like trivia.
Trivia, yes. I could just totally see them just changing up.
You can start with the Cleveland condiments themselves, ketchup and mustard, and now they have mayo line as well. The new mayo line is very much like Duke's, so if you like Duke's mayo, the quality and consistency of it is about the same. The texture is also very much the same. And they have
Cleveland area traditions in food without really talking about pierogies, right? And so I know you. I'm Josh Duke.
And I'm Alex Darus.
And you're either watching or listening to Dine Drink CLE, the podcast, where each and every week we're going to be joined by cleveland.com's best and brightest food experts, insiders, and influencers talking all things food and drink here in the Cleveland scene. What are we talking about today, Alex?
Yeah, so today we have a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about the ballpark, the Guardians, and the Akron Rubber Ducks. I don't know about you, but half the fun of going to a baseball game is eating for me. So we're going to talk about all the new fun food there. There's a new restaurant open downtown, the Astro. We got a first look at that. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be talking about Cleveland condiments. There's a lot of locally made condiments, sauces, spices, and there's plenty to talk about with that. So, and we're also going to have a little bit of bonus content. Yes. So we also had a conversation with Paris Wolfe about ramps because ramp season is almost over. There's a ramp festival coming up this weekend. And then we also were joined by Chakerian to talk about pierogies because it's never a bad time to talk about pierogies. So, yeah.
And now we have Mark here who's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the updates coming to the ballpark at Progressive Field. Welcome, Mark.
Yes.
Nice to be here, guys.
Yeah, so what's going on? How's Guardians season? Just kicked off a couple weeks ago, and there's a lot of new things to eat at the ballpark, so...
There are. Every single year, they really up their game. I have to hand it to the team. They've done a great job for the past several years. Several years ago, the big push was for local vendors to come in, and they've done a nice job with that, from food and beer especially. Now they just keep upping their game. It's really amazing. I'm old enough to remember when you'd go to a ballpark and you'd get a stale pretzel, hot dog, maybe two choices of pedestrian lagers, and that was it.
Yeah.
Now it's just a veritable smorgasbord of flavors at all times. They have a lot. So first thing, I should say this, the most important thing, which I really don't think is that jarring of a deal, is the ballpark is now cashless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we've already gotten used to this with Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, their next door neighbor, Progressive Field's next door neighbor. Mm-hmm. And now Progressive Field is cashless as well. But they've got a lot of amazingly creative dishes. The heater, pulled pork on Kaiser with Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Sounds like a Josh sandwich.
Yep.
You like hot and spicy food, that's right.
Yes.
And it also has jalapenos to just kick it up another couple of notches.
And then the Cheetos just to
There
top
you
it
go.
off.
Right.
Yes, that is there.
And amazingly, the ballpark has never had mozzarella sticks, which I think, why not? They've got almost everything else, and now they have
that is weird.
Yeah.
the big Maz. So they're having mozzarella sticks. I got a chance to try those. They're pretty good. I don't like overly greasy or deep fried things, and this has kind of got a light batter crust to it, so I like that. It's amazing we're sitting here talking about this food, and it's at a ballpark.
I know.
And I feel like we're doing a review. In a sense.
I mean, that's what it feels like going there. It's like I have to do a lap first and then decide what I want to eat.
You are not alone. I think a lot of people do that. If you're in the mood for something, that's exactly the way to do it, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
They also have chula is now in the ballpark.
Oh, that's exciting.
Basmati rice. You can get spiced chicken. I think that is extraordinarily different. I mean, that one is going to go down when national media starts doing their annual, hey, what's new in the ballpark 6 months from now? They're going to say one of the more creative dishes is going to be chula. That's just my prediction.
Yeah, I mean, you would not think of, you can't really get anything like that at
right. And it used to be such a big deal when Dodger Stadium years ago started offering sushi. That was a smart idea in that market. this is a good idea for this market.
Yeah.
I think it's really neat. There's a bunch of things. I mean, they've got a Cuban dog that's both a vegetarian dog with diced ham. I don't know who the market is for that, but I tried it and it was absolutely delicious.
That's from Happy Dog.
No, I don't think it is, but you may be right. I think it is.
It sounds like a Happy Dog creation.
Yeah, very, very much so. And then finally, one of my other favorites on there was chicken and JoJo's. This is neat because JoJo's are like thick cut steak fries, very endemic to the Akron area. Vinny Cimino, the chef at Cordelia, is originally from Akron. And the team, Delaware North, the food provider at the ballpark, worked with Vinny on kind of coming up with something, and he came up with fried chicken and JoJo's. So a lot of tasty dishes at Progressive Field this year.
Yeah, and kind of after going that, and speaking of Akron, what's going on at the Rubber Ducks Stadium? What's the food situation looking like over there?
The food situation there has been, the key word is extreme. Their extreme food menu is back out. They've done this since, it's more than a decade. I think they started in 2011. Unbelievably large, flavorful dishes. These are eminently required to be shared. I mean, they're just too much for one person. Everything. They're all in the $15 range. One I think is a little bit more than that. They have a chicken and waffle sandwich that has so many different flavors on it. It's got a bacon and onion rings, as well as on one end you've got pimento cheese, and on the other you've got a bacon habanero jam. So there's all sorts of different flavors going on. They've got something called the home rocker, a half-pound hot dog, buffalo chicken, and mac and cheese, all shoved in the same sandwich. They've got something.
How do you even approach eating that?
Very carefully with a lot of napkins. Really, napkins required for everything they've got there. One of my favorites was interesting. It's called the Pit Boss. It is a full pound of meat. So it's ribs. It's brisket, it's 2 hot dogs, and then interestingly enough, it's actually topped with a cherry. And if you want to know why, Jim Fander, the general manager, said, "We consider this a meat sundae."
Oh God.
Okay.
So, you think you could handle that, Josh?
I don't think so. Yeah, maybe with help.
Help from, that's like sharing with at least one other person.
Yeah. Probably at least 3 other people, but
they also have a Hawaiian burger. So they always, the last few years, they've really liked the teriyaki flavor. They actually had something a couple years ago called Terry Akron. They're really into their punny names and everything. The chef is doing a good job. So those are the 4 new extreme food items. They're very popular. They do get national attention on this every year. They kind of created this, like I said, more than a decade ago. They are bringing back some of the other dishes, not a lot, but the famous dessert is called the Screamer. It is 21 scoops of ice cream. So definitely something to be shared. I do not want to sit next to kids who are eating this because they're going to be on that sugar high.
Oh
and
my
just
God.
take off.
That's for at least a family of 5 at least, right?
And if you're on like a sunny midday game, like you got to eat that fast.
Yeah, that's true. It's gonna be melting everywhere.
Save that. Like, wow. Anything? What out of everything he just mentioned, Josh? What would you want to eat?
Oh well, you already know. Right?
The heater.
The heater.
Yes.
Yeah.
The heater. I mean, obviously, I'm there all day. That screams Josh Duke, cleveland.com, all over.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I think the Cordelia fried chicken and JoJo sounds good, but also that chicken and waffle sandwich sounds really good.
It was good. It was a little too sweet for me, but it does have a lot of flavors going on.
Yeah. I mean, but like you said, it's like, who knew that you could get all this stuff at a baseball stadium? I mean, especially with Akron, too. It's not like it's an MLB stadium.
Right.
Like,
I was going to say, how does this menu kind of sort of compare to other cities and their stadiums? Like, is this like the top tier? We'll just say progressive.
Okay, so in terms of Progressive Field, I would say a lot of stadiums are doing things like this, but I think Progressive Field is doing a very good job. In terms of Akron, I think Akron is very much above average in terms of AA baseball. They have always been creative with their promotions. I believe they have at least a promotion or a theme night for every single home night of the season. It's great for kids because they're so close to, kids don't understand major league or minor league, or they just want to be close to the action. And there's always something going on. Me, when I go to a game, I'm content with keeping score and having a beer. But I recognize that these things are important for a lot of people, and they're going after a different market.
Yeah. So now I know you two recently went to the Astro downtown, a new restaurant. You want to, in the former Hard Rock Cafe space. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Mark?
Well, the folks behind the Haunted House restaurant in Cleveland Heights have started the Astro. They took about 9 months for renovation. They went into, as you said, the old Hard Rock Cafe, and they have, it's very themed. I mean, anyone who walks in there will know immediately what the theme is. There are flashing lights on the floor on either entrance. There's TVs playing constantly, sci-fi movies. Men in Black is a really big thing. The name of the bar is Men in Black Bar. They have the nebulizer as one of their drinks. They have all sorts of, it's just all of this going on. They have these huge colorful murals, all sci-fi characters, everything from the cosmic universe. If you're into that, it's kind of like both. Really, Andre Scott, one of the owners, said it is kind of a destination place because people are looking for something different, and they want to head out to it. And I know you were out there too, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was really, really cool. I'm all about sci-fi themed anything. I love Superman, Star Wars, Star Trek, that sort of thing. And literally murals on the wall to all of those properties and more that I just listed. I think when you think about Haunted House Restaurant, which they also own and run, you think about some of the very over-the-top theming. You get a special like Jaws themed menu item, and they play the Jaws music, and there's a whole like fiasco like that they kind of present with the food. So I think that you might be able to expect some of that, but maybe not quite that over the top here. From what I can tell, it feels like they're trying to still do the theming, make it fun, make it very interesting, something that you want to travel to go see, but still like pare that back just a little bit. So it's just more so a focus on the food a little bit. I got a little bit of a preview to at least the fog machine that kind of goes out of the walls, but I didn't see like what they were going to be using that for specifically. But I just, in my mind, I know this is going to be a place for them to host themed events. Maybe there's a Star Wars opening, a new movie, a new trilogy coming out, right?
That's a great point.
Yeah, they're going to have themed anything Star Wars movie related,
or like trivia.
Yes, I could just totally see them just changing up, even because all of the other thing I really love about themed places like this is that the staff are in costume. I really like that. I went to go eat there actually Sunday, and the waiter, he was in like
it's like a jumpsuit. It's like an astronaut jumpsuit,
maybe Star Trek, I'm not sure, but definitely astronaut-ish, and he came over and he was like, he said something to the effect of, "All right, guys, buckle in, prepare for takeoff." Stuff like that. So it's like they have staff that's very much committed to the theme, and I think that's going to be something for people to really want to check out.
Did you have any one thing that you saw in there that you really liked that was extra special that you really got a kick out of?
Yeah, I think when you go down the stairs, because it's a 2-floor space, obviously the Hard Rock was, if you were around that time, I guess. But there's a mural above the steps that kind of blends like Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, Looney Tunes. It's just all these different characters from these different properties coming together to just fight or work. I don't know if they were fighting or working together, but it just, that sort of blending, like the Avengers of sci-fi space stories, was kind of fun to me.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah. And what is like, because obviously it's very themed, but what's the food like? Is it like bar food, like American food, or what's the cuisine type?
They had a lot of, the menu was pretty diverse. I give them credit there. I didn't get a chance to try anything. There were just a lot of different dishes. I was asking, because I asked Andre, I said, I know you don't have a big cellar yet because we got a sneak peek and obviously wasn't open. But he was naming these dishes, and they were all like across the board. I want to say I think that he said lobster roll, and I know they have ribs, and they've got all sorts of different things.
Yeah, just all over the map. I really can't pin it anywhere, but I do love how all the menu items are like themed to.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, they're all named.
Various properties, even their drinks. Like one of the drinks that they have there, I think it has vodka, some kind of champagne, or I can't remember all of the items, but it was named the Princess Leia from Star Wars. and it has these like flower petals on top of it too that just make it like really nice and cute. So yeah, stuff like that you can expect.
Yeah.
Or a big giant cup that you can take home. That's like, it's about like, I know if you're listening, you don't know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to
Nice.
size it with my hands. And it's
the size of a loaf of bread.
yeah.
That's,
Yeah, exactly. And you can take that home. It has lights in it, stuff like that. So yeah.
My favorite thing though in that entire restaurant, I thought this was a really nice touch, and maybe everybody knows this. I thought it was cool. One of my favorite cartoons when I was a kid was the Jetsons. It's about a space age family living, and they traveled around in their spaceship. It was mom and dad and boy and girl, and they had a robotic maid and they had a dog, and the dog's name is Astro.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I thought that was a nice little subtle touch to have in there.
There was like a Astro sign, and yeah, I do remember the Jetsons maybe what were incorporated when you walk in from the outside rotating doors. There's like a sign right there.
Right. That's exactly right.
Right next to the Men in Black bar. So, and also if you go downstairs, there next to the bathrooms, they have I guess the dad from the Jetsons. I wasn't a Jetsons. I don't know if that was I'm pretty sure that was beyond my time. Yeah. But there's like a Jetsons figure. The dad was dressed up down there, and they have figures like that throughout the entire. Like there's a Darth Vader set up, a Kylo Ren. There's a Storm from X-Men. There's just different figures just out and about.
It seems like these theme restaurants, it's like turning your regular like night out with your family and like giving it a Disney World spin or something. Like
I exactly had that thought. Like this is like if you were to go to a theme park and go to eat somewhere, you would imagine whatever you would imagine that be. This is that, but like Star Wars. Not Star Wars, but sci-fi theme.
Well, that's kind of cool too, because it's like, again, not everyone can. It's like you're already paying for a ticket to go to a theme park, and then you pay to go out to eat. It's like you cut out the ticket part, and you kind of can get that experience.
Yeah, right here in Cleveland, downtown Cleveland at that.
Yeah.
On that note, what do you think about the location? Like, how did that treat the Hard Rock Cafe? What happened to that? What's the story there?
That's a great question. I am not a huge fan of I should say this. There's one knock on the location to me, and that's parking. I think if you go to this place, it's going to be for people who are already downtown, which does fit with the whole destination idea. These are people who are downtown. They're probably staying downtown, going to a ball game, show, a festival, something going on. God knows we had a lot of people come in for the Eclipse and Final Four. So you're already downtown. And Cleveland, at that point, that's a good thing, because Cleveland is, to me, extraordinarily walkable, and it's easy to walk around. But you don't just pull up to the Astro.
Yeah.
I mean, they have valet, so that's a good thing. And I think that's a very smart and required thing for them to do. But I just think you have to already be down there or valet your car, because the street parking there is very limited. If you're in, the lots aren't that far, but that's a few blocks away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're joined by Chakerian. Hi, Pete.
Hi, friends.
Yeah, so you recently wrote 2 classic CLE Eats columns about spices and sauces and all the Cleveland brands. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, with the warm weather coming up, I got really excited about cooking out, and baseball season is just getting rolling, and I just am very excited for the warm weather. So I thought I'd give our readers an opportunity to take a look at some of the condiments, spices, sauces, and various other accoutrements, if you will, things that you can use for your cookouts, your tailgates, your picnics, and really give people like a taste of Cleveland when they do that.
Yeah, I kind of feel like just reading your stories, it's like you listed everything that would be good on a hot dog, pretty much. Like you could put everything on a hot dog that you wrote about.
Oh yeah, without question.
Yeah.
And I just might.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what were some of those? Let's run down some of those ones you called out.
Well, I think we can start with the Cleveland condiments themselves, ketchup and mustard, and now they have mayo line as well. The new mayo line is very much like Duke's. So if you like Duke's mayo, the quality and consistency of it is about the same. The texture is also very much the same, and they have several different varieties and flavors. They have different varieties of mustard. Their jalapeno mustard in particular is very good if you like a little extra zest in your mustard for your hot dog or your hamburger. And then they have several different kinds of ketchup too, and their bourbon bacon one is particularly good. I make mention of that in a couple of other flavors in the column.
Yeah, and I know you wrote a lot about the Cleveland Kraut. Wake Robin has like the sauerkrauts, kimchi's, and I think Old Brooklyn mustard too. You were a
Yeah.
few of them. I'm thinking hot dog things I put on a hot dog at home.
Absolutely. No, fermented foods are a really big deal now too, and a lot of people are doing those at home as well. People are, making scobies for kombucha starters, and they're making their own sauerkraut, and they're making their own kimchi. It's becoming more of a thing, and I can't decide whether that's as a result of sourdough starters during COVID, whether that was sort of the slippery slope people hit, and they just decided to start doing it across the board. But those food items are a lot more prevalent and popular now than they were, I think, even a few short years ago, especially around here.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes I've gone to the grocery store and there's a whole section of just condiments that are locally made, like especially now this time of year.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of people who may not be able to cook like me, but still want to support local.
You can't make a hot dog?
I can make a hot dog, but I'm just saying he was talking about creating your own fermented.
Oh yeah, you're not a biochemist.
Exactly. I'm not gonna do all that, but maybe I want to still support local and not go for these big brands, right? So if someone's not tuned in, plugged into cleveland.com, where would people be finding these? At the West Side Market? Or?
You can find a lot at the local grocery stores now. I know Cleveland ketchup is at a lot of grocery stores now, and the kraut in the refrigerated sections and stuff like that. But I also know like locals, the West Side Market or like Ohio City Provisions and stuff, they stock all of that too.
And talking about condiments, one that was not there, and I'm not sure if it's because there's a technical reason, like in terms of definitionally, but would we consider chip dip a condiment? And if so, why didn't we have a mention of Lawson's chip dip, Pete?
Well, so see, that was the very first column that we did when we did these classic CLE eats, and I was actually saving it for the next column, if you will, or next episode. The last one of this series of 3 is all about crushable alcoholic beverages for adults, and of course you have to include chips with that, and of course
that
there's
fits.
your dip. So so you'll find it come back.
I jumped the
around.
gun.
It'll boom back around, I promise.
Yeah, and honestly, specifically, I was surprised with how many people are making like sauces and marinade brands. Like, I mean, I know a Dun Spice Company, they're kind of one of the bigger ones, but there's a lot of local. I mean, you almost like never need to make up your own spice rub anymore.
No, not at all. And in fact, I'm particularly impressed with Ola. Their line of spices that they have as marinades are almost like a wet spice rub that you get in a jar. And the 3 varieties that I've tried of those have just been outstanding. The Jamaican one is fantastic. I make that with chicken, I mean, pretty much all the time. So they do quite well.
Yeah, and it's almost like fun with, at least, especially the spices and barbecue sauce and marinades, is like, I don't know. I always get in ruts with cooking, and it's like, it's crazy how one different sauce or marinade, when you're making your regular chicken that week, it'll just make you feel like you're eating something totally different.
It's totally true. I think we wrote about this previously, but the Ghana Supreme sauces are really good too. And if you're not familiar with sort of West African cooking, you're going to totally have your taste buds blown away by their sauces and marinades. They're just wonderful. So I mean, just one little minor tweak, right, and your whole cookout game is completely different.
Yeah. No, this conversation is reminding me I never relate to people who are not into condiments. Like, I don't get that at all. I feel like that's half the fun of eating things.
Oh yeah. I mean, most food is just a vehicle for the sauce.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
absolutely. Like, I could not imagine eating. Like, I've seen people at the Dollar Dog Nights, which at the Guardians game, they'll eat like 9 plain hot dogs, and it's like, what is wrong with you?
I agree.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
I agree.
Even though I feel like that would be almost a you thing.
No,
that you would pull out.
I totally do my ketchup, my barbecue sauce, my mustard.
You eat
In
mustard?
terms of- yeah.
Because that's the thing some people are weird about.
Do you have a favorite condiment, Josh, that you like to put on stuff?
Everything barbecue sauce. I mean, just in general, I think that goes with most things. But outside of that, no. I mean, not a.
You're not like a ranch person. You dip
I
ranch.
like ranch.
Some people get like a little too much.
I used to get really weird about like ordering things that has, and I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Ordering like sandwiches or like burgers, and there's a white condiment on it that I didn't put on there myself for whatever reason. I used to get really weirded out.
Like
by
an
that.
aioli.
Yeah, anything. Yeah,
But
it could have been mayo, like aioli. Yeah, ranch.
Should unpack that.
Yeah, I'm over it now though. I peeled.
What I was gonna ask is, I wonder, do any of these local companies make ranch. Did you know? I feel like that's an untapped market.
I didn't dive into the salad dressings. That's a whole other
Yeah.
ball of wax that I didn't get into. But, never say never. The columns have been very popular so far. I've gotten a lot of feedback from readers. So thank you for reaching out, touching base. So who knows, maybe after I do those beverages, maybe I'll circle back around and we'll catch some dressings.
If not, I mean, it just seems like, I don't know, Ohio, Midwest people love ranch. So if you make a ranch from here, you could take my idea. Take it.
Yeah, well, maybe we should. There was one dressing actually that worked its way into the last column, which was garlic expressions, which technically isn't Northeast Ohio. It's more like Northwest Ohio, but it's really been adopted as sort of the Italian dressing. And I think people use it a lot for marinade for pork and for chicken in particular, but also for seafood. So I included that as part of the marinade side of things.
Coming up next, we have some previously recorded bonus content about some springtime favorites right here in the Northeast Ohio area. Food without really talking about pierogies, right? And so I know you, Pete, you recently covered this and did a really good story kind of looking back on pierogies and how they've affected you in your life. So welcome. Talk to us a little bit about pierogies.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, I did a story for our classic CLE Eats and Drinks column, which runs every week, and was happening right around Dingus Day. So obviously I was feeling the love for pierogies. I had to dive back into sort of, early teenage years and dating to remember when I had my first pierogies, and just the sheer number of different varieties and types that there are was a very huge thing to me. I hadn't grown up with pierogi in the way that a lot of other folks, Germans, Czechs, Poles, who, just would have those as a matter of course on any given Saturday or Sunday as a meal or a side dish. And so it was exciting for me. And I got to kind of revisit all of that. I dated somebody in high school and into college who was very much German and Polish tradition, big family, and they love to do those.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I read in your story too, it kind of, pierogi started off as kind of like a peasant comfort food or a way to use up leftovers. Is that correct?
That's exactly what it was. And real easy way to preserve food back then when there wasn't a lot of refrigeration at the ready, we'll say. So taking leftover foods and sort of putting them into a dough pocket and then just having those, whether they get baked or pan fried or boiled.
Yeah, and thinking about that, it reminds me just about how so many of the most delicious delicacies we enjoy today came from poor circumstances, whether that's like slavery and you have all the soul food that's come out of that, like jambalaya, chitterlings, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting how...
Well, even oysters, they used to be a peasant food.
Yeah,
now it's like so expensive.
Yeah, and with pierogies being so versatile, I feel like you can pack those things with almost anything, you know what I mean? And so it just speaks to how bad conditions, bad circumstances can create such awesome food and creative ideas, honestly.
Yeah, without question. And the other thing too is that every culture really has what you would call a dumpling.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's their expression of the dumpling. I've never met a form of dumpling I didn't like at all. But
what's not to like,
No, I also like how you described it, that eating a pierogi is like a blanket for your insides, because that is kind of how it feels. Like it's like the comfort food, at least to me.
Well, it really is around here, especially.
Yeah,
they're so prevalent too. You really can't get away from them.
I was just at Fan Expo Cleveland, a big nerdy Comic-Con convention, and the Lord of the Rings cast, the Hobbits, they came on stage, and like the first thing they started talking about is, what do you do? What is your impression of Cleveland? What came up was the Rock Hall pierogies and corned beef sandwiches.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so it clearly is a big staple here. It's even being talked about by the hobbits from
high esteem. I guess I know you also mentioned, which was a favorite dish of mine, was the beef cheek pierogi at Lola that is gone. But are there any currently open restaurants that you particularly like getting pierogi from?
Little Polish Diner is where I'm always going to go. I mean, everything else is almost secondary at this point. My brain is just tuned into what they do, and it's wonderful. And on any given day, you can walk in there and just have a dreamy experience.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been looking for, because I'm new to pierogies. I'm not gonna lie. You said your a girl you dated introduced you to pierogies back in the day. My girl that I dated that introduced me to pierogies was cleveland.com.
I'm like, where are we going with this?
Right. So I actually really was surprised by how much I like them. I
Yeah.
feel like sour cream, from what I experienced, was a must.
Do you
But
do the
also-
applesauce too?
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
You have to do
me.
sour cream and applesauce.
Ugh, okay, I'll try it.
Don't knock it till you tried it.
Yeah, but I was
He's like, yeah,
thinking-
sure, whatever.
I was thinking I would really like to experience some really cool loaded ones, like with a variety of random stuff.
Yeah. No,
so-
there. I mean, like Pete said, there's dessert ones. I know. Obviously, there's the pierogi lady in Cleveland. She does events and stuff, but I'm pretty sure at Rowley Inn they serve her pierogies. There's a few other restaurants that do, and also I love Jukebox in Ohio City. They make their own pierogies there, and they have some different ones. Like one I always get is a sweet potato and black bean pierogi.
Mm.
Oh wow,
It's
that sounds
really
That does
good.
sound
They have like a buffalo chicken pierogi, which is kind of like different.
Mhm. I can give that.
Yeah. What about like the dessert pierogies? What are your favorite options of those?
I've had apple pie pierogies, which I thought were really good, served with ice cream on the side. That was
Ooh.
really good. I've had pumpkin pie ones too, but then I've also had them filled with prune, and those were great. I think my favorite though was probably the cheeseburger pierogi
Yeah.
that I mentioned in the story, which essentially is like, everything you love about a cheeseburger inside a pierogi. You get your ground beef and your cheese, but then pickles and onions, ketchup and mustard on the outside. I mean,
That's what I want to eat for dinner tonight. That sounds good.
Yeah. One pierogi related food item that I think both of us recently tried at Dingus Day. You had the opportunity to try the pierogi dog.
Yeah.
How was that? So,
It was-
before I get your opinion on it, I went back and I tried it, but unfortunately, they didn't have pierogi, so I just had a normal.
So you didn't have a pierogi dog.
I mean, I tried what
no,
they.
it's delicious. It's delicious. It's like, I don't know, you eat a lot of restaurants, especially in Cleveland, like an entree will be pierogi and kielbasa or some kind of sausage anyway. So it's like, yeah, put it all in one. It was a mess. And Josh made me eat it on Facebook Live, which I was pretty upset about because that was embarrassing. But
footage here.
it was delicious and I would eat it again. And I think that was we got Happy Dog there was a few options, but I know that's not something you can always get. I get Happy Dog. That's not like on their menu. It's like a Dingish Day special, but I think it was good enough for them to bring back for a special.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, like you said, we're talking about pierogi because Dingus Day and stuff, but I mean, there's really not a bad time of the year to eat a pierogi, in my opinion. Like it could be a summer food coming from food trucks. It's a winter like comfort food. It's always a good idea. And now Paris Wolfe rejoins us to talk a little bit about ramps, another spring seasonal foodie topic. So hi, Paris.
Hi, Alex. Hi,
So
Josh.
what is a ramp?
A ramp is basically a wild leek that grows before the trees leaf out, but after it starts to warm up.
So they just grow in the ground.
Yes,
And
they're
it's like-
bulbs and they're ephemeral, which means as soon as the tree leaves leaf out, there's no sign of them. You would not know they were ever there, except for in the summer, they do sprout a flower, but most people are unaware that that's a ramp flower.
Can you eat it when it has a flower?
I don't know about that, but you can eat the bulbs and the leaves
Yeah.
and do a lot with them.
Yeah, for sure. So I know people kind of describe the flavor. How would you?
Garlic onion,
Yeah.
kind of little leek garlic onion. Very strong unless you cook them. My dad used to pick them when we were young, and my mom, he would eat a lot of them raw, and my mom would make him sleep in the living room because
Onion
he
sweats.
smelled like onion. Yeah.
I've heard them just described as like the bougie, rich cousin of the onion.
They are, but they used
Yep.
to be very rural and earthy. And those are the only people that would harvest and eat them. And now, they've become bougie.
They're native to the northeastern United States, so it's kind of
Yes.
something we've always had around here that people could just go pick.
You can pick. They're usually in low-lying areas, floodplains where the soil's rich.
hmm And I know you wrote a story recently. There's a whole festival for ramps.
In Peninsula on Saturday from 11 to 4, they're having a festival that includes a number of different food trucks and food choices. One of the vendors is bringing like a French onion soup only made with ramps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Nice
Yeah.
melted cheese.
Or like I've seen it like ramp relish. is
ramp
pre-
relish. There's a ramp noodle bowl with morel mushrooms.
Ooh, those are good too.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say you can sort of substitute ramps for onions on
Yes.
most things,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
it'll be just like whatever that thing was, but plus
With a little-
ultra
Yes,
bougie.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. And so what is it? I'm assuming you've harvested a
I
ramp.
have
So
for many
do
years.
you eat the bulb? So you dig the whole thing out?
Yes. Now, some people suggest that you don't because they're worried about the sustainability of the ramp patches. But where I've been harvesting, there's an overabundance of them. So I'm not real worried, and I don't take more than I can use.
Yeah, there's probably like an etiquette
Right.
with. It's
Right,
like,
there is.
Yeah, for sure.
So the Ramp Up Festival, you can obviously get them there when that occurs on Saturday, but other than that, around Cleveland,
Sometimes you can find them in the more exclusive markets or at farmers markets.
What about like menu items at a restaurant?
I think if it was
places.
really special, like a special dish, like a limited time
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm,
Yeah,
right.
but not regularly on a
No,
menu
because
at
once
all.
they're gone, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can't. It's like
You can't propagate them purposefully. They're very picky about their environment.
Mhm.
yeah, you can't like grow a ramp field.
Nope.
Like at all.
Yeah, I'll be looking out for some ramp-oriented menu items at my favorite restaurants. See if there's any.
Yeah, I'm pretty
around.
sure like Larder has done a ramp
Yes.
relish in the past. or-
Jeremy, I think, has even done classes on it.
yeah, there's a few places that I'm sure will have it locally. But have you cooked with ramps?
Oh yeah.
What do
Yeah,
you
I've
you like to
pickled
do
them.
it?
I've used them
Ooh.
in a mayo for hamburgers.
Ooh.
I've
that
turned them
sounds
into
good.
jelly. Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds
And then
dope.
I've substituted them for regular onions from time to time.
Yeah. And so you basically said, so once the trees are full in bloom, the ramps
The
will go away.
sun doesn't reach the floor, and they're
So
gone.
how much time do you think we have for ramps? A couple
not
weeks?
much longer, maybe a couple of days to a
Oh.
week.
Wow. So it sounds like a good idea to either go to the Ramp Up Festival or go outside in the woods and start looking for. Can you tell, I guess, before you pick them, do they smell like
Yes.
they have like an oniony
Yes,
smell?
very much.
Yeah. So you going to put your boots on this weekend, Josh, and go digging for some ramps?
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm always down to check out a foodie festival and get them from the people who know how to make them and handle them.
Come on, you got to learn where your food comes from. Harvesting. Next, we'll have
I'm
you catch your
ready.
own fish and gut it and all of that
Oh no.
on next week's episode. Thank you so much for listening or watching Dine Drink CLE, the podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Like us on Instagram at DineDrinkCLE and follow our newsletter at cleveland.com/newsletters. Thanks.